1140 The Fan.
Talkin' Money!
And we're back to Talkin' Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
Right. How you doing? Our screener says I'm talking too fast. I've had 2 chocolate chip cookies and 3 Advil cold and sinus. I'm loaded. That's why I'm talking. We're doing a 2-hour show in an hour, whether you like it or not. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Did we get a winner on our quiz question? We got 2 of them? Okay. So, fourth quarter Smart War quarterly market share by vendor. The number one highest percentage smartphone user. Who'd you have guessed there, Chris?
Apple.
I would have guessed Apple 2, or Apple 3, or Apple 5, I should say. It was Samsung. Samsung almost 32%. Because keep in mind, Apple only produces one phone, basically. I mean, their Apple iPhone.
There are other phones?
There are a couple other phones. Samsung has about 4 or 5 different varieties of their Samsung model. Nokia was number 3. RIM was number 4 at 5%. And then you lumped everybody else together, and combined, everybody else has shares of about 39%. So Todd and Harry got that correct. We'll get them out some football or whatever they want to do. Got a couple people on hold. Let's see if we can get to a couple calls here real quick. Let's get to Mark. Welcome to Talkin' Money. How you doing, Mark?
Good morning, Jeff. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Hard time. Hey, I wanted to ask you, did you see that interview last week? Tony Robbins was filling in for Pierce Morgan, and he had three guys on there. He had Steve Wynn from Wynn, Casinos. He had Mark Cuban, and he had T-Boone Pickens. And they were talking about how to boost the economy and what to do to get the economy going. And obviously, Mark Cuban is in the corner of Obama, and so is Tony Robbins. But Steve Wynn had some very interesting things to say. But T-Boone Pickens, I'm sure you're probably familiar, he is big. He is big in the natural gas.
Yes.
And one thing that he was saying, and you just listen to, listen to a lot of these things that are going on right now, and how to boost the economy and how to get off of foreign oil and everything else. With the Straits of Hormuz and the United States, this government makes us dependent upon foreign oil, and it's a big political game. And why people don't catch on to this, and we are the largest producer of natural gas in the world. Our reserves, I mean, if we already have the propane engines that run on propane, and why we are not making other countries abroad dependent upon us? Why are we not doing more development of this natural gas is beyond me. It all has to do with money, and making people dependent upon the different parts of the world.
So, Mark, just out of curiosity, what was Cuban's suggestion, that we all overprice our companies and sell it to somebody else? What does Cuban know about the economy? What did he say?
Well, basically, Cuban was talking about producing things overseas. Him being, and we need to develop more technology. Him being in the making all of his money in the internet world.
Yeah.
But it was mainly about developing technology within the United States. But with all the things that are going on, with labor costs and everything, the other thing this country needs to do is they need to, think about bringing down the labor costs so people stay here.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, you're breaking up there just a little bit, and I appreciate it. I did not hear the interview. We'll send out Mark some football tickets or something. Oh, you got him. Okay. So I did not catch that. I'm living in the apartment right now. My entire world is a little bit out of skew, so I don't catch a lot of the TV shows, and I don't generally watch that show anyway. But a good call, and I'm not a big person familiar with the natural gas in this country. I know we got more of it than we can possibly use, but I'm sure there's.
Look at Washington.
Yeah. So I've got a little bit of real estate news, which I thought was interesting this week. Once again, the local paper is writing some really good articles. God, I hate to keep saying that with surprise, but the new Hudson Sangre, who's a new writer over there, seems to be right on it on a few things. But one of the articles that came out this week, there was two things that came out I thought were interesting. The first one was out of the Wall Street Journal, which says that in our country, household income sank to the same level we made in 1995. So our incomes nationwide are the same level in 1995. So you start to think, well, that's not good, and that's not good. But the local paper tied it together with the housing prices, particularly in our area. While our incomes are back at 1995 levels, so are our house prices. And in fact, for the first time in probably since 1995, maybe 1996, those numbers are about equal in terms of median income and the house price, the affordability. So we've never reached, and it's been almost 2 decades since we've been at a level where our incomes in general, on average, are perfectly suited for the house prices we're being asked to pay. And from that standpoint, that's very, very good. You throw in there one other thing, which is the interest rates are significantly less than they were in 1995, if I recall. So I started in 93, 22, 93, 93. They were almost, well, let's put it this way. I started my company, my old company, ATM Mortgage, in December of 93. Rates were about 4.5% when I started it. And then the first quarter of 94, they went into almost 10%. We went into the high nines. Needless to say, I had a lot of time to do extracurricular activities other than mortgage, because when you go from somewhere in the fours to somewhere in the nines, it gets real quiet. And nobody was buying much of anything back then, and there certainly weren't refinancing. So we are in a window of time where buyers are perfectly suited to afford the house prices they're being asked to pay. And the big but in that group is that there is just nothing to buy. And here's a good reason. There's two companies. One of them is semi-local, this Waypoint Real Estate Group out of Oakland. They just picked up a $65 million loan from Citigroup. Waypoint is a Oakland, California-based investment firm. What they're doing is they're picking up, their goal is to pick up 11,000 single-family rental homes in California, Phoenix, Chicago, and Atlanta. They already own 2,200. And so they are out competing with you and I to buy homes, and they're buying them either in a bulk foreclosure or they're buying them on a one-off basis, and they're coming in and paying all cash and picking these places up. There's another company that's been fairly Colony American Homes, owns about 3,600 homes already also. So some of these properties that we were hoping would hit the streets, in many cases, are not hitting the street at all. Either they're being short sold before they get to foreclosure, which is good because at least you get a chance to bid on those. But many of them are being bulk purchased from these banks. And why would a bank? I mean, other than they maybe get a little bit more money. But let's say you're Bank of America or somebody. You've got X numbers of thousands of homes, and Chris walks in, with his investment group and says, "Hey, I'll take 500 of them from you right now, all cash." Or you got to go find 500 independent brokers and sell them individually and deal with 500 contracts. Unless Chris is offering me 25 cents on the dollar, if Chris is up to 50 or 60 cents on the dollar, and a bank looks at it and says, "Look at our time as money," forget it. I'll just sell Chris 500 homes at one pop, and these homes are not being put on the market. They're being turned into rentals. And I had a question last week on the text I didn't get to. It was exactly that. Jeff, why are the rental prices getting so high in our area? Because they can get it. That's why they're getting so high. They can get it. There still is a large number of, particularly in the single-family homes, large number of people who have lost or left their homes, who cannot buy something, who will not go live in an apartment, who know how to take care of a house or need a house, and they were, heck, 2 months ago they were paying $3,000 a month for them to pay $1,700 a month in rent for that house. Where do I sign? I mean, and the real market rent's probably $1,500, and yet they're being pushed up. And the landlord says you can get it. If you owned a rental house, you'd get it. And that's going to continue for probably 3 or 4 more years until these people can flow back into the market and pick up a house, again, somewhere down the line. So we're seeing a little bit of a shift. But the good news is that the houses that are out there are affordably priced for the incomes that we're making. The bad news is there just aren't enough. And I don't know how that's going to change. I did see that locally the median mid-range for home prices in our area is up again. In fact, if you look at this map, the Sacramento Bee does a really nice color-coded map, and basically everything in the blues is price increase. Everything in the yellow is pretty much light yellow is pretty much flat, and the red is negative. And our area is pretty much blue, which means our prices are holding or slightly increased. So, and that again has to do with the fact that there just isn't much to buy, and so what is coming on the market is being pushed up in price a little bit. And that's good for those of us that own a home and are finally starting to see a little bit of appreciation, and it's good for generating positive feedback about houses again, which means that first-time buyer wants to make that leap. Hell, 2 years ago, they were looking at it saying, if I buy today, Jeff, I'm going to be minus 15% a year from now. Why would I do that? I don't have a good argument for that. But now, at least, if you say you're holding even, it's not too bad. If you are somebody who's looking, has to short sell your house, Fannie Mae did come out with some new guidelines last month. That are taking effect now. And before, to really get Fannie Mae's attention to accept your short sale, you almost had to qualify to be upside down. I mean, you had to almost show you were destitute. They've changed that now, and they've added 3 more categories that will make it a little easier for you. 4 more categories. Make it a little easier for you to sell your house on a short sale basis. Number 1 is if there's a death of a borrower or a co-borrower. Clearly, if you're dead, you don't have to make your payments. And that's right out of the federal government manual. If you die, you don't owe the money. Somebody else does. If you're divorced or legally separated, ting, ting, there's your legal separation. So if you're divorced or legally separated, you can file for a short sale and have them look at that as a hardship. You've got an illness or disability, or you have been transferred from employment. So those are 4 new items that Fannie Mae is looking at that will qualify you as somebody who can, they'll consider for a short sale candidate. We have one more quiz question to do too, don't we? We're going to do one more quiz question real quick before the end of the show. Okay, and we'll do that, and we'll just take those at the end here. 339-1140 and 1-800-920-1140, or you can text me at 441140. This gentleman's this TV personality's salary is now down to around $15 million, and was at $30 million, and the TV personality took a pay cut to keep himself on the air. So who is now making a measly $15 million? I tell you right now, if you're only going to offer me $15 million to do this show, I'm not even getting out of bed on a Saturday. So 339-1140 if you know the answer to that, 1-800-920-1140, or you can text me at 441140 if you know the answer to our quiz question, who took a $15 million pay cut to stay on the air? One more thing I thought that just got me this week. I got all kinds of non-related real estate stuff too. We'll do this before the end of the show here. Did anybody else see this? Was a big article. General Motors, which people are calling government motors. General Motors is upset. And General Motors is upset because they want their company back. Currently, the U.S. taxpayers own 26.5% of General Motors. That's because we loaned them $50 billion in 2009. We did get some money back. But we currently still owe a little more than a quarter of the company. General Motors thinks that we are being unfair to them. We will, currently we limit their ability to recruit because of our pay restrictions. And what's even hurting them more than that is that we are not letting them use their private jets at General Motors right now. So General Motors wants us to sell them back their company. Here's the problem. General Motors shares right now are about $24. We would lose, and I say we, the U.S. taxpayers would lose about $15 billion with a B, $15 billion if we sold General Motors back their company right now. The share needs to get up to about $53 a share for us to get our money back. So here's the question for you. Should we give back General Motors their company or not? Ed Whiteacre, who's a former chairman and CEO of General Motors, wrote a huge article in the Wall Street Journal opinion page about how we should give General Motors back to them. My comment to General Motors is this. You could be known as bankrupt Motors, out of business Motors, and if you guys want your company back so you can use your private jet, and I own a GM car, they're good cars, but I don't give a damn if you want your company back. Write us a check for the money that you owe us, and we'll give you your stock back. I'll give it back to you anyway. Write me a note for $15 billion, and I'll even waive the interest on it. You can have your company back. But don't whine to me about how tough it is to be in business when you should have been out of business. Why don't you call the guys at Ford and ask them how things are going over there? They actually had to do things the hard way. Call any other manufacturer and ask them how business is going without a $50 billion bailout because you screwed up so badly with your company. So I'm not that interested in what General Motors is whining is they can't use their corporate jets. If they want us out of their pocket, write us a check.
How about you use that opinion for a thank you?
Yeah, there you go. And that is my rant for the day. That's it for another Saturday. We are back to the 1 hour shows for during the football season, so we're going to wrap it up here. I'll take your thoughts on General Motors next week. Actually, next week we got a couple substitutes. Johnny will be back. Colin Gray will be in. I'll be in SoCal for the weekend. So you can catch me during the week at cheftarbell.com. We have our Facebook page. We post all of our shows if you want to catch them after the fact at the Talkin Money Facebook page. And that is it for another Saturday. With the head cold and a little bit of the vertigo, we made it through. We'll see you next Saturday, everybody. Have a great weekend. Pray for snow. I'm going back to the gym, I promise. We'll see you next week, everybody. Aloha.
Talkin' money.
Hi, my name's Jeff.